Aloha mai kākou, and welcome to the Hawaiian Music Archives Oral Histories project. My name is Shawn Yacavone, and I will be your host for today. The ukulele is an instrument that has been embraced for nearly 150 years. And everyone from players to musicians to recreational people that have enjoyed the ukulele over the many, many years, there's so many stories about this beautiful instrument that continue to be told around the world. Today, we have esteemed guests that are joining us from the Ukulele Hall of Fame, and their mantra to be able to dedicate to the preservation of the ukulele history, both historically and today. To my far right, I have Michael Chock, and I also have Mr. Paul Syphers. To my far left, I have Tom Walsh and Dr. Byron Yasui joining us today. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing the story of the Ukulele Hall of Fame with us today.
Thanks for having us.
So the Ukulele Hall of Fame has played such an important role in all things ukulele because, as we all know, there are so many festivals that are happening. There are so many makers that are out there, so many amazing people that are musicians and builders and all of things that have happened over the many, many years. With the Ukulele Hall of Fame, I think it's very important to have a memory institution, to have a place to celebrate all things ukulele. So I want to learn a little bit more about the origins, the start of the Ukulele Hall of Fame and how this came to be. Can you share with us?
Yeah, Tom and I were there in the very beginning, along with some other folks. And I'd like to start by saying when I met Tom and others. We were both attending a slack key guitar festival, or steel guitar festival is what it was, in Philadelphia. And at the time, I had a book business and I was selling books, and I had got a number of books to bring to the event to sell. I had a table full of books, and across the way, Tom walked in with 3 ooks in his arm. And I just left my table and ran over to meet the guy with the 3 ooks in his arm. Because my history was I had been collecting ooks at flea markets, yard sales. There's a large town in Massachusetts called Brimfield, and 3 times a year, the whole town is turned into hundreds of vendors selling antique items. And of course, you know, it was in the 80s and there was no internet. So this was where we found all these precious Nunez's, Komala'is, the early ones. A lot of the people that visited the islands in the teens and the 20s brought ooks home. They brought them back to New England. And New England is crawling with kumalais. They're everywhere.
That's amazing.
It really is amazing. And T, what was your impression of meeting in Philadelphia?
I think we had a similar background. I didn't start quite as early as Paul did, but since 1990 or so, I had a friend give me a ukulele that he found in an antique store, and I used to go to a lot of antique stores and flea markets, and soon I was like, ooh, this one's nicer than the one he gave me. And I started to learn to play a little bit, and then each time I found another one, I was like, oh, this is nice too. And it started a little collection. And the Philadelphia Steel Guitar Festival, that was the first time I'd ever gone to any sort of a gathering where there was going to be Hawaiian musicians or people playing Hawaiian music. And as soon as we walked in, just like Paul said, he came right over to us, and we were instant friends. And then just within a couple of years, he explained to me, I have this idea for a Hall of Fame. We should start the Ukulele Hall of Fame.
I mean, it really came from my visit in '89 to Scotty's Steel Guitar Convention in St. Louis. So I had an interest in steel guitars. I was going to festivals in Armonk, New York, and Hinsdale, Massachusetts, and my friend Cartwright said, let's go to St. Louis and see Scotty's Steel Guitar Hall of Fame. Well, I got to the Clarion Hotel. It's gone now, but it had a rotunda on the main floor surrounded with these bronze busts of the inductees to the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame. And it's a natural question if you're collecting ukuleles.
Right.
Where's the Ukulele Hall of Fame?
Right.
Yeah.
And once we realized there wasn't one,
Right.
we said, well,
It's a classic, why not?
And
Right.
this is the early days of like internet and so forth too, right? Because your webpage is ukulele.org.
.org.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like this
And
is the very inception of that process. You register this domain name
Yeah.
early
very early
on.
on, yes.
And so tell me a little bit about how this comes to be. Like, so you register the domain name, you got a group of guys together, you're playing, you're enjoying ukulele, you go to the steel festival,
Yeah.
and you're inspired to move these things forward.
Yep.
But from there, what happens?
Well, I think part of it is we were, besides we enjoyed collecting and playing, but we had a mutual interest in the history of the instrument, and there was nothing out there that you could learn about the history of the instrument. There were no books. There was very little that you could, besides actually, oh, here's a new instrument, here's a name in it. I can, learn little bits here and there. And then I don't know. And this, so because of this interest, we wanted to first learn more, but we also wanted to preserve that, and make it available so people would be able to know about these
Yes.
people that were involved in the development of the instrument and
Yes.
and the early players and that sort of thing. So it was natural.
And the first event we had in 96, we called it Uk Expo or Uke Expo 96. It was in a mill in Montague, Massachusetts. And this is where Nooney and Donnell met us. And their cousin Les came also. The Nunez family was there. Les brought some Nunez ukuleles. We had the mill surrounded with uks and some historical information. I think that was a pivotal event. And a lot of the events that came after that, I feel, were modeled on what we went out to do. With our Uke Expos, we had them every year.
So the ukulele festivals that we know of now, like for example, Portland, Oregon, Santa Cruz, and all the others, they kind of started, you think, because of you folks?
I think so.
That's very big. That's important, I think.
We did a very big production in Santa Cruz with the Ukulele Club.
Now, there were some groups in California that were doing some festivals, but not so much on the history. More it was get together and play. And so I think ours was the first one where, we were trying to celebrate the history, but we were also having workshops and letting like-minded people. And it was right at the dawn of people getting together on the internet. And so when we put on our first expo, even though it was in the early days of the internet, people came from around the country because this was the first, their first chance to meet up with other ukulele people.
I'm curious. I don't mean to change the course of the subject, but when and how did John King enter the picture? Wasn't he on the board for a while?
Yes, he was.
Right? When and how did he enter the picture?
Well, it was right around the year 2000 that I first heard about John King, heard from John King, and we started, contact through email, and that was around the time that he put out his first book about the Hawaiian ukulele makers also. So he was doing the research, and I mean, he was a natural fit we were all interested in the history, but he was also an unbelievably talented player. And so we immediately asked him to play in our next expo in the 2001
He's
expo.
a player and a historian.
Yes.
John, for those listeners who don't know, John King, we just inducted him into our Ukulele Hall of Fame last night. An exceptional individual. Like everybody's saying, a historian second to none, really dug deeply to find the facts, the historical facts, and also an extremely accomplished player of classical music. And he did his own arrangements on the ukulele, and he was on another level, right, Byron? Yeah. We're all amazed at what he could do and what he did do.
So the early days, right? You found the Ukulele Hall of Fame around 1996. You have a small group of people that are playing at your place together, working towards these things, hosting these kind of festivals that then become some of the seeds, as it may be, of planting all of these other existing ukulele festivals all around the continental U.S. How do you meet this gentleman here, Mr. Michael Chock, in this process?
I met Mike when I came to his Ukulele Guild of Hawaii exposition. You had instruments on display.
So I can I guess, feel what you guys went through, because we did the same thing, starting the Ukulele Guild of Hawaii. And what's interesting is the ukulele attracts just so many people, and they're really awesome people, really nice, happy, good guys. You don't see mean-spirited ukulele players or lovers. So you get this going, and it's exactly what Tom and Paul said. Gee, you have an idea. We don't have a club. We don't have an organization that's promoting the perpetuation, the history, and presentation, and keeping this in mind that you want to continue, the building. And so I'm from a different angle, because I'm a builder versus a collector, but I went through the same thing. It's just no internet, one book, Irving Sloan, on guitar making, paperback. The rest of this stuff you've got to just do, and then figure out, find a Martin, find a Kamaka, trace the outline, and you're on your own. You just keep going, and slowly you find that you want to share your passion, and there's nothing out there. So either you do it, or it's not going to be done. And so I can see that. So when Paul and I, and when Paul asked to join the Hall of Fame, I thought, awesome, because actually in the deep background, we want the same thing. And what we wanted was a brick and mortar structure that would be an Ukulele Hall of Fame museum. And it didn't have to be run by any of us. It had to be run by somebody qualified, but we needed a location. And I think Byron, you was with me, and we all ate at Karin in the back room. And then the biggest thing that happened after all that was that an agreement that the Hall of Fame Museum should be in the place of its birth. That's here.
We always felt that from the beginning of our organization.
That's a
never
no-brainer.
changed.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
And the original Nunes Diaz, did they also make classical guitars before?
Oh yes.
Or the bigger Portuguese instruments?
They
Or
made
did they
guitars.
start right off with machete?
They probably were gleaned with classical guitars before anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
When
my question
their
was-
advertising was instrument of all sizes, they
Because the question I had outside was, you see, with Michael, he was a guitar maker first, and then he converted to ukulele. And I have the impression that a lot of ukulele builders, well, like Divine, he started off with guitar first.
Correct.
And for some reason went to ukulele. Maybe there's more money or something. And I'm just curious, is that a very common trend, or are you guys the exception?
Well, for Divine, I remember he came to our first exhibition in 2000.
Yeah.
He brought 4 Divine ukuleles. He was the only person who actually, besides myself, employed the Kasha bracing system.
Oh, really?
Offset sound hole.
Yeah.
He brought 4 of them.
Yeah.
Kimo played them, Hussey. He sold all 4 out.
Yeah.
That day, he had sold 4 of them, got an order for 4. He went and quit his waiter job and became full-time.
So that was his start of seriously making ukulele.
No, he's a serious guitar maker before. I mean,
But
he's a
as far as
serious
ukulele
guitar.
was,
Yes,
came
that
with
helped
your-
fund everything.
Yeah.
So he turned all his guitar making skills into ukulele making. And that made him quit his day job.
Yeah. I mean, but you started off with guitar, not ukulele.
Right.
And right?
Yeah.
What made you switch to ukulele?
It's the information. It's just like Paul said. There's nothing out there on ukulele. I mean, really nothing.
It was the Wild West. You could do what you wanted.
But
You
you
could make your own
see
way.
what I'm saying? I mean,
Yes.
and the same for all these ukulele makers that we're talking about, not just the original 3, but there's so many Kumalandos. So did they make classical guitars first, or acoustic guitars, and then for some reason changed over to ukulele building?
I don't know about first, but they make guitars for sure.
Yeah.
well, not. I mean, I don't know about Kumala, but
You haven't seen one?
Well,
I don't think so.
Kamaka?
But Kamaka was certainly making guitars
right?
early on. But I don't think it was
Yeah.
before ukulele so much as he would make
I know
whichever.
Alvin Okami's definitely started with ukulele.
Ukulele.
Because he did the little mini
Right.
guys that you could actually play.
Yeah,
you know?
he could play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just he's a genius.
Yeah, he is.
He'd like to put things together, you know, and
Yeah.
he got that kola up and running in no time. you
Yeah.
know.
So the Ukulele Hall of Fame is founded in 1996.
Mhm.
You begin to pull this team, all-star team,
Yeah.
together of board members. You begin to have these festivals, these events. At some point, this begins to take great shape. I'm sure things are changing, and you come to the point of, well, what is the Ukulele Hall of Fame? What is our mission? What are we doing? And why are we doing what we're doing? Talk a little bit about the mission of Ukulele Hall of Fame. Historically, has that changed, or where are we headed?
Well, I think that our mission from the beginning, I mean, especially calling ourselves the Ukulele Hall of Fame Museum, was the idea of eventually establishing a brick and mortar building to where we could display and honor the people of the past that played an important role in ukulele history. And we knew from the beginning that Hawaii was the place where this would, we might do we might do events on the East Coast, but that this permanent, but we didn't have any idea of how this would be funded or how this would ever come into fruition. But we started small and we said, well, let's put on events where we can maybe make a little bit of money and start building some funds and, think more about how we're going to accomplish this. And so early on, most of we put on events that mostly people came to because they like to play ukulele and they like to see other people play ukulele. But even at those events, we would have either talks about history,
Yes.
or we would do an induction of important historical figures. So there was always that history aspect to it, even though I think probably 90% of the people that came just came because they like to play and hear people play. Over time, as more and more ukulele festivals popped up across the country, the need for what we were doing in terms of gathering people together wasn't as strong, and we sort of moved away from running our own events, and instead we would do inductions at different events, including coming here to Hawaii to do inductions. In the 2006, I think, was when we did the induction of Herbota and Frank Henry Martin here at the UGG.
The Marriott.
Yes, and so that allowed us to think more about and concentrate a little bit more on the history aspect as opposed to just but long time past, we kind of went into a little bit of a hibernation where we didn't put on any events and didn't do inductions for a little while, even though we had great new members that we had brought onto our board. We wanted our board to represent not just these friends who started it, but we wanted to have representation of builders. And we asked Mike Chock to be on players, renowned musicians and scholars. And John King joined our board. And so we had and Jim Trinquata joined our board. So we had a great group of people, but still the idea of where you get the millions of dollars that you would need to to put an actual building together in Hawaii. We had nobody had a great idea in terms of that. What do you want to add, Paul?
Oh yeah, no. The only other thing I could say about us doing festivals and doing events, now we're riding on the coattails of other festivals. So we do our induction ceremonies, and somebody else is putting together the festival. I think of ourselves as the arsonists of the ukulele festival. We lit that fire, and then 6 years later, we ran away from it, and it just burned brightly. And I can remember the board meetings when we decided that we really wanted to focus on our original scope, intent of our organization, which was to preserve ukulele history.
So now we have the Ukulele Hall of Fame in a new home. And I'm really excited about this, and I'm really excited to hear how this came to be, because now the Ukulele Hall of Fame resides in the Hawaiʻi State Archives, right, at the Hawaiian Music Archives, and is such an honor for us to be that new home.
You want to talk about honor? This is such an honor for our organization. I mean, it really is the other way around. This is where we wanted to be all along, to think that we now have an address in the Royal Palace grounds in the Hawaiian State Archive. And the other beautiful thing about the archive is free public access. I think that is
Which is what you wanted.
That's what we want.
Right.
And it's kind of sad that we collected for 29 years and all these induction portraits and all this great ephemera was in your closet, in my closet,
in our garage,
in the
in our
garage.
closets, in our basements, in our
This is such a bonus for us to bring this to Hawaii. This is why Tom and I were so quick to give our collections. So much more coming, as you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and of course, under, just the vision and the leadership of Dr. Jansen over at the State Archives, just remarkable work that he's doing there. I remember receiving, a call and saying, hey, I need assistance. We're going, up to Tom's place. We have only, 2.5 days. And I'm going to meet with this guy, Paul, too. He's driving down. And we've only got 2.5 days, and we're packing up almost 700 ukuleles and boxes and boxes of ephemera.
We had a good time. We
do you want
that
to
weekend.
help with this process? Because we also need help identifying the instruments and other things and so on and so forth. And I said, pick me. But
you were a hard worker.
Oh my gosh, what an experience it was, and an honor it was for me to be able to sit in your house with all of these instruments as we work through that process.
Well, you visited his house?
I did there just last year when we packed up all of these instruments. And it's funny is because across the two collections that now reside in the Hawaiian Music Archives, there are about 650, close to 700 instruments, plus the boxes of research materials and all of that also came over to the archives. But I remember, because each instrument we had to wrap in glycine, and then we also wrapped in bubble wrap. So there was a 1,300. It's almost as though we had 1,300 instruments wrapped, because each one went twice.
Right.
What did your knees feel like after that weekend?
I didn't care.
We spent the whole weekend on our knees.
I didn't care. I didn't care. And I've never been so happy to be in one place.
Yeah,
So
me too.
it's the entire collection of yours and yours?
Yeah, now what
Yes.
Shawn's talking about is our personal collections.
Yes.
The Hall of Fame Museum also has its collection,
Yes.
which is yet to come, of instruments.
So where are they stored?
They're at my house.
Or your house? And how about Dave and Sue?
Well, they have their personal collection.
And
They
they're
have a
gonna-
few items that are...
Are they going to donate theirs too?
we don't know about that. Yeah, that would be their personal choice.
And this is the beauty of this project, right? The Hawaiian Music Archives project is really open to everyone. And that's the story of the ukulele. It belongs to everyone. And so whether the Ukulele Hall of Fame, Ukulele Guild of Hawaii, the musicians, it belongs to us all, and we get to all champion that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to you, because you housed us, you packed those instruments, you are so organized and setting those things up. But talk about this process. I mean, because those instruments, and all of the portraits and everything else that came over is quite the ordeal.
Yes. Well, even before I get to that, I want to bring up the fact that when you said, how did this all happen, that our stuff wound up here, I should point out that you were instrumental in it, because I didn't know who Adam Jansen was until you told me about him, and until you introduced me to him. And I had often told you before I ever met Dr. Jansen that I was hoping someday my collection, our personal collection of stuff, would be in a public space where people can access it and enjoy it. And when you said that told me about the Hawaii Music Archives, and when we met with Dr. Jansen, that's what really put it all together. And I said, this is perfect. It's just the perfect. So then that's when I got to work on photographing the front and back of every individual instrument, writing up a description of each instrument, and trying to describe all, giving a record of all the hundreds of ukulele manuals and 78 RPMs and LPs and 45s and getting that all organized so that you guys didn't just have this 89 boxes to figure out what to do with, that you at least would have some background on all of that. And,
Yes.
And when I caught wind of this, I was jealous. You remember? I heard about it in August, and by September, I had drove everything down. Like it was that quick.
Who's this guy backing up in the driveway with a truckload of ukuleles?
Not to
Yeah.
mention the 15-foot ukulele.
Yes, you call it Ugzilla, right?
That's Dr. Adam Jansen's name. I love it. I've always called it the world's largest or the giant.
So
ukulele.
tell us about this, right? This instrument is how
Okay.
big?
So it's 15 foot 2 inch. I built it in 1998.
Mhm.
And what possessed me to do it? I don't know.
Because you could.
Because I'm like you.
Because you
Yeah,
could.
because I want to try something different.
That's it.
And I work with my hands, and I'm not an instrument builder, but if you ask for a 15-foot one, I can do it.
You can do it.
I tried to make it so that it plays in tune.
And I love the fact that it's fashioned after an old
Yeah.
like an old
Thank you.
Hawaii-made ukulele.
Got that rope binding. A lot of
Yes.
love.
I do love it.
Yes. So now that instrument is also part of the collection over at the Hawaiian Music Archives.
Mhm.
And I think you also spent about the last week or so working with Dr. Jansen and creating the world's largest ukulele stand.
That was all Dr. Jansen's work.
So now we have both of those things,
wonderful.
and how appropriate, because we need to keep the public safe.
Don't forget also the world's largest ukulele strings, right?
Yes.
Like big cables.
We're going to
If
work
it's
on
gonna
better
be
strings.
played,
I have
yeah.
some heavy monofilament, but we're going to work
Well,
on better
I
strings.
mean, that ukulele alone, right, the Ukzilla, so to speak, that has lived in several states too,
Oh, yeah.
has it not?
Mm.
It was over with Jim Beloff and
Well, that's his sister.
okay,
And she's actually in Western Mass with the flea market music.
yeah,
The
The
Fluke.
Fluke.
The Fluke.
Company.
They
Yeah,
make the
Magic Fluke.
So when you walked into the Fluke factory, they had a 2-story atrium, and the giant Ukzilla lived there for almost 20 years.
wow,
Yeah.
Wow.
When I got it back from them to send to Hawaii, it had some damage, some water damage. It had been
sure.
really neglected. It was in the sunlight.
Where is it stored at the archives? I haven't seen
Well,
it.
Secret spot.
the neck
Is
comes
it?
off.
In 2 parts, pieces. Oh,
Yeah.
It's going to be tomorrow at
It'll-
the
oh
festival.
yeah.
The ukulele festival.
They'll love it. They'll love it at the
Yes,
park.
and I've never seen, I mean, talk about first experiences. I had seen that instrument after it had arrived, and they had a forklift pick up the body of this ukulele.
But when is it going to be delivered to the park? Tonight? Or you're not going to leave it
Tomorrow
there
morning.
overnight?
Early
Okay.
early
Yeah,
morning.
we set it
Don't
up.
leave it overnight.
We'll be there early, Byron. You want to help?
Unless you got guards.
I mean, that instrument to me is a reminder of the scope of your impact.
Mm-hmm.
It really is that big on festivals, on musicians, on builders, in so many ways, on research, the next generation of researchers, right? We're excited to have the materials because of what you all have contributed to this project. We had our second PhD student come in to the music archives, utilizing those very materials and that excites excites me, as I'm sure it does you.
It does, because why have it be at our house in a closet?
Yes.
No, that's not what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of free public access is fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
Get the word out, make the community stronger, make them all more knowledgeable.
Yeah.
We can all feed each other and build together.
Mm-hmm.
Byron, we should talk a little bit about how the Ukulele Hall of Fame, Tom and I met you,
What?
how we met you. So the
Oh.
Ukulele Hall of Fame put together a 4-city tour
Yeah.
in 1998.
98.
And we started in New York City on Broadway at Symphony Space.
Symphony Street.
And we went to Cambridge, Massachusetts, or Northampton, Mass.
And
was first,
Harvard.
at Smith,
Yeah.
then Cambridge, Harvard, and then we went up to Portland. And the tour was supposed to have Lyle Ritz and Herb Ota and others.
Wow.
And Herb fell ill shortly before the tour was supposed to begin. And they said, guess what? We're sending you Byron Yasui.
No, what happened was you guys asked, you needed a fourth to cover Herb.
We had
Herb
to
was
cover
in the
somehow,
hospital.
Right.
And so I think you asked Lyle Ritz.
Lyle is the
And
one that
Lyle
introduced
knew
us
me,
to you.
knew me by that time, so
Yeah.
he recommended me. I don't know why me, but
Well, I'm about to say why. So Byron shows up, and of course, you were
nobody heard of me.
right. I hadn't either, but you were the hit of the show. You were the hit of all 4 nights. I was amazed at what you did,
Mm.
and you had very little time to prepare.
Yeah.
And the piece where you're playing bass And
Oh,
then Lyle walks over and takes the bass from you, and you whip a ukulele out of your back pocket. That was beautifully done.
yeah, Blue Monk. That's a gimmick. That's a
That's
gimmick.
okay. That's okay.
Now you can
Great
play
still
gimmick,
anything.
playing.
Yeah.
So, Tom, you have there a really rare instrument. That's, I believe, a Leonardo Nunes radio tenor in the concert scale. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Tell us a little bit about this instrument, or how you maybe came across this instrument and acquired it.
Leonardo Nunes was the son of Manuel Nunes, who was one of the original ukulele makers. And Manuel Nunes, I should just mention, also happens to be the great-grandfather of my wife, Noonie.
Yes.
And so Leonardo, his son, is her great uncle. And so we have an affinity for Nunes instruments, and anytime I could find a Nunes instrument, I would try to, if I could manage to, I would try to purchase it so that we could learn more about the instruments made by her, her family. Manuel also mostly made soprano ukuleles, and Leonardo in the 1920s started to build these larger bodied instruments, and it was before they had really standardized the names, and so he called it the radio tenor, even though nowadays people would say this is a concert size instrument instead of a tenor size instrument. But every one of them that you can see he chose the finest woods, and they're just better built than his just standard line of instruments. And ones that have held up over the years really have a beautiful sound to them. This one didn't hold up so well over the years, or it had some issues, but they had such a reputation for sounding great. This is an instrument that was one of the first that I said, I need to get a talented luthier to get it back into playing condition, because it needed to be played. And I wasn't disappointed once it was back into playing condition. It's just a beautiful sounding instrument.
It is just beautiful. And I mean, I love the headstock design too. It almost feels like an homage to his father's work, some of the earlier work of Manuel Nunes.
Yeah, and some of the fancy instruments that Nunes made had a very similar shape to them.
And this one also has a fingerboard on it, right? Many of those kind of Hawaii-made ukuleles, although this one was made in Los Angeles, correct?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it's so fascinating to see the fingerboards.
Can you
in there
explain
too.
to our listeners this as a fingerboard as opposed to no fingerboard?
We'll have Tom
Do we have
share
an
a little
example
more.
of one without a fingerboard so that we all can understand?
Right here.
Yeah.
This Cajolas.
Yeah.
So we can show them.
Right.
Show the camera.
The fingerboard is
Raised.
a separate piece of wood that's raised up above the plane of the body, and it's attached on top of the neck. Whereas on a lot of the early Hawaiian instruments, the frets are actually laid right into the neck, and there's no separate piece of wood. And because of that, they rarely went past the 12th fret, because the 12th fret was at the body, and there was nothing else to put frets into.
So with the raised fingerboard, you can add more frets up, which you cannot do without the fingerboard.
Right.
Fingerboard.
Right.
You could still play fretless up the neck.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You can go right into the soundbar.
Let's have you play a little on this radio tenor.
Why is it called a radio tenor?
Well, I don't know that it ever came out, the specific reason, but I mean, this instrument was developed right around the time that radio was becoming popular, and presumably the larger body. I don't know if it just had to do with the popularity of radio, or if it was actually thought out that the larger body would be louder, and if you were playing on the radio, it would pick up better and broadcast better. I don't know for sure which of those, what his reasoning was, but that's what I was kind of. So let's see.
Wow, that's great.
Copy.
Fantastic.
Bye
Such a
blues.
beautiful
Bye-bye.
piece. And I know in the collectible world, you being a collector, and that these are quite rare, right, Paul? I think also the
Absolutely.
radio tenors are really sought
Absolutely.
after in the concert size. And I know because I was in awe when I had seen it at your house, but you actually have a true scaled tenor, radio tenor, which as far as we know, I think might be only a couple of these are made. And so now that one resides in the Hawaiian Music Archives collection as, and there's one other that I'm aware of, but they didn't make many of these
Yes,
instruments.
yeah,
So.
the tenor size ones are definitely, I mean, not the concert size ones are hard enough to come by, but the
They're
tenor
hard to
size
come
ones,
by.
there's just a couple really that I know of
Yeah.
that exist, uh, and also another beautiful sounding playing instrument.
Yes. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with
Sure.
us. We have an instrument here next to you, Dr. Yasui, that is quite unique. If you wouldn't mind holding that up and maybe flip it to the reverse side, because what I think is so beautiful and so unique about this particular instrument is that neck. I mean, this is an instrument that also made its way over through Tom into the collection at the Music Archives. But tell us a little bit about this one here, Tom, as well.
Yeah, when I first came across this instrument, I had never seen anything like this. Besides ukuleles, my wife Nooney and I collect a number of different older Hawaiian objects, and we have a number of little like carved Hawaiian perfume vials and carved boxes. And I've always appreciated the work of the beautiful carving work that's done. And this is the very first time I saw this on an ukulele. I was just like, I really thought it was beautiful and wanted to. So I don't really know much about the history of this instrument, except that just from looking it over and from building style and the style of the bridge and the type of decal that's on it, it appears to have been made by Sam Chang, who was a maker that worked from the 20s at least through the 50s building instruments here in Hawaii. But I've never seen another one anywhere near as fancy and with as much detail and carving as there is on this instrument.
And even that inlay on the back of the headstock, shell there
Yeah,
too.
the shell
It's really ornate.
and
Such a beautiful piece.
the fretboard is. So I don't know. I can't say for sure whether it was Sam himself who, if assuming Sam did build this, whether he was the one who did the carving or if he had somebody carve the neck for him. But either way, it's definitely a beautiful and kind of unique instrument.
It really is. I mean, it looks like a slightly larger version of what we know to be Sam's work that
Yes.
that does, have the decal and sometimes the flag on the back with his name and so on and so forth. But it looks like a larger version of that. And his instruments have always sounded fantastic.
Yes.
I would love to have you
So
play
you know
this.
Sam Chang?
Well, is that generation, kind of that second generation of builders that was coming out after the original three makers, Jose do Espirito Santo, Augusto Diaz, and Anya Nunes.
Because I'm not a
Yeah.
collector, so I never heard of that name. But what made you? How did you come across? Arrive at his name as a? Is there
Well,
something on this that tells you it's Sam Chang?
The things that I see on it, the style of the bridge, the style of the binding,
okay.
the decal that's used on the top are all things that I've seen on other instruments, and many of which actually have his name on them. So
Okay, so that's your detective work.
Yes.
Yes. He also has a soprano size that the body shape looks very similar to this. It just looks scaled a little larger in this instance. But the sound of his instruments, right, I think you would attest to, Tom, they sound great.
Yes.
And we'd love to have you play on this, if it's okay, Dr. Yasui. Maybe you can play us a little tune on this.
I hope this is. Fucking. glad the 12th fret was there, not at 11. Which brings me to, we talked about it, the discussion of why the fret marker on ukulele is at number. All the rest are the same as with guitars, 3, 5, 7, and 12. But on ukulele, the fret marker is on 10, and on guitars, it's on fret 9. And we discussed this off camera before. And would you like to carry on?
I think it's a fascinating discussion. I mean, your research with Martin Ukulele Company, I think, is fascinating because Martin does have both in ukulele with position markers on the 9th, and then they also have them on the 10th from different generations.
Martin?
Yeah, Martin does.
Yeah.
And Tom has done extensive research in that area.
And I mean, I did find when Martin first started putting position dots on their ukulele fingerboards, they were on 5, 7, and 9, like they would be on a guitar. And a couple of years after they started to do that, they got a big order of instruments from the Charles Ditson Company in New York, something like 100 instruments. But Ditson specifically said they wanted the dots on 5, 7, and 10.
That started.
And then I think soon after that, Martin said, well, why should we make them different for Ditson? Then we're making them for everyone else. Let's just do 5, 7, and 10.
What year was that Ditson?
1921.
Okay, so now we're getting to when and how we got the ukulele fret marker on fret 10 as opposed to fret 9. That's great.
You asked the right guy.
Love you.
Yes,
You're
absolutely.
historians,
And his
man. You're
research.
marvelous.
And I think, we have to look at the broader picture of what was happening, the popularity of the ukulele from the Pan-Pacific Exposition all the way out. And so, the need or the interest, I should say, the consumer demand to learn ukulele and how to standardize the teaching and how to quick reference the instrument, position markers would help facilitate that for the learners. But I remember because the earlier Leonardo Nunes ukuleles, they have the position marker 5 and 7 only. Right. And so the question of 9 or 10 is actually not answered at that
So
point.
smart.
Right.
How about 12, though? How about 12?
But 12, because it's just jointed at the 12th,
Yes.
nobody needs the
Yeah,
12.
you
Because there's no
have to-
so
14th
it
fret
meets
joined
the
to the
body.
body.
The neck.
Right.
Okay.
The 14th fret joined to the body comes much
Right.
later.
Later?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we see Martin, in the 60s do that.
Yeah, Martin actually experimented with it in the 30s, but it wasn't until the 1960s that they actually started making their tenor ukuleles and baritones with the 14 frets to the body.
What the TV audience is what they're talking about. If you count the number of frets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you got 2 more frets before the body,
yes,
comes
connects
into
to-
play. Whereas most ukuleles have 12 frets to the body. And many others have 14 frets to the body. Would that be with the concert ukulele? Because it's longer now?
But I think that's unusual for any instrument of this period, the 14 frets to the body. So that is another thing that stands out about this one as being a little bit different.
Curious.
So I have a question about, kind of the direction. Now that the Ukulele Hall of Fame resides at the Hawaiʻi State Archives, which is on Iolani Palace grounds. I love saying that. It's so fantastic.
Couldn't be better.
Right? Now that this resides at the Hawaiʻi State Archives, the board of the Ukulele Hall of Fame as a whole has been very, very active in inductees from last year. You inducted Roy Sakuma,
Yes.
right? And his body of work, and what an honor it is to be included in that grouping of amazing musicians and builders. And you have a whole grouping of people, right? And different of course, different ethnicities, but also different gender too, right?
Yes.
Across. Share with us some of who are the inductees.
Some of the inductees.
Yeah.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, King
Yes.
King David Kalakaua was the very first inductee. And our initial few years of inductions were mostly the historical greats, whether they were great players like Cliff Edwards or Roy Smeck, or great builders. Manuel Nunes was one of our early ones, and then soon after that, there were Kumalai. May Breen was our first female inductee. She was known as the ukulele lady through the 1920s and kept teaching all the way through the 50s at least. She was an amazing player, and she also did a lot of work in public to get ukulele chords printed on sheet music.
Wow.
And she did so many arrangements for sheet music in the 20s and 30s that very deserving inductee. And then as the years have gone on, we've moved and gotten some of the more, more modern players. Like, last year we did Roy Sakuma, who obviously, still alive. It was nice to be able to do his induction and have him there for his induction, where so many of our inductions have been people that either long past or Paul, you want to bring up any other in particular?
While we're on the subject of Roy Sakuma, I mean, so well deserved. And, our board also nominated Kathy Sakuma for induction. And Kathy declined and was really our first rejection. But I understand why after talking to Roy and Kathy. And still, when we went to induct Roy at Kapiolani Park last summer, we all made sure we had plenty of Kathy in our talk, in our hearts, and in our minds. And for both of them, Kathy and Roy, they were so pleased last year. They had smiles that were so big. So this idea of inducting living treasures is really a good one. Yeah.
Oh, if I could mention one other, I think one of our first important inductions, all of the inductions and inductees are important. I don't mean it like that, but for our organization at the Ukulele Expo 2000 was when we inducted Samuel Kamaka Sr. And it was our first induction where we were able to notify the family of the inductee, and both Fred Kamaka and Sam Jr. both flew out from Hawaii to come to Expo 2000, and many other members of the Kamaka family from across the mainland and were there. And they also flew out Brian Tolentino and Asa Young because they wanted Hawaiian musicians there to represent their family. And it was such a wonderful induction. And Sam and Fred even came up and did a hula for the audience.
Hilarious. Did we laugh? That was so fun.
And to see the whole Kamaka family and how proud they were, it really elevated our organization to a different level. And since then, we've kept that in mind, how important it is to honor these people, and how important it is either to them if they're living or to their relatives if they're not. And so we've made it a point anytime we could since then to involve the family of the inductees in the induction process too.
Yeah.
So where do you envision, the Ukulele Hall of Fame moving now? What is this next season, this next chapter in the story of the Hall of Fame look like?
Well, very much work is coming this year to get the rest of the archive that the Ukulele Hall of Fame Museum has into the Hawaiian Music Archive. So that's I know T's already sent his recorded music and books and ephemera, but I have an awful lot of it, tonnage, and the museum also has a lot of it. That's a very big step this year. I'd like to get all of that stuff over here, in the next year. So that's very important moving forward to put our entire archive in the Hawaiian State Archives.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thanks for inviting us to do it.
Yes.
It's going to free up one more room in my house.
So aside from, the getting over some of the books and ephemera over into the state archives, are there any other must-dos, so to speak, that that's on the horizon for the Ukulele Hall of Fame?
Well, we have a long list of inductees to come yet. Right? It's very difficult to choose year to year because there's still very many qualified inductees.
Yeah, it seems like year after year, anytime each new induction is like, he wasn't inducted already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because there's so many deserving people out there
Yes.
now. So we have some catching up to do in that area. And then ideally too, eventually it would be nice that more and more of this stuff becomes publicly, put
Yes.
out there for the public to easily access. I know that it's already starting now, and with the sound booth at the
Wow.
Hawaii State Archives and stuff, but the more it becomes available, the better as far as we can see. So anything that we can do to, you know, move that along also.
That's
And I
fantastic.
think we still got to do legwork. Like all these
Well-
researchers today have it easy, right? They go online and they see all of the stuff we've
Google it,
collected
yeah.
for 30 years. But I think we're still driven to do legwork, to still go to flea markets and
Right.
yard sales and look for that thing you
Yeah.
haven't seen yet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know. I go through, I mean, it is nice to have these archives, but like an archive like newspapers.com has so much stuff out there that there's still lots of things to find that, I mean, just for example, I've recently, I always thought the people have often asked me, where does "my dog has fleas" come from? This tune,
Yes.
that's how you tune your ukulele. "My dog has fleas," and people have sort of traced it back to, well, it was in this movie in 1933, but I recently just came across something in newspaper.com in one of the Hawaiian newspapers from the mid-1920s where they said this is used for ukulele tuning, and I had no idea that it was, that it even went back that far, and so
Wow.
there's still stuff to discover out there.
Yes. And also for you, Mike, and for you, Dr. Yasui, both as educators, because you are also educators in a different way.
Yeah.
What does it mean for you to be able to participate in this?
Well, for myself and the Ukulele Guild, we share the same vision, and I'm a little reserved because it's been so long and we've tried so hard and it's never happened, and we've come close, Doc. I mean, we did, but it just never happened. So it is an opportunity to, as it comes into fruition, it's like, gosh, what I did was cool. I actually had a right choice. Yeah. So even now, because of the archives, in my building now, I've reintroduced what I used to do, and that is, I went out and bought a couple of artists' sketch pads, and now every current build, I'm documenting. So I'll know size, shape, scale length, what am I changing? Stuff that you want to see on the inside that you have to only get at if you take your ukulele apart. But now this is here now, and you can just film it, photocopy if you want, and make it if you so choose, or just use it as a model to go wherever you like go. I mean, that's what you do. So it's kind of fun. Right now, between the old guys on the 12th fret and the modern move to the 14th, for me, it's all about positioning where you want your saddle to be in the shape of whatever ukulele you got. Where do you want that saddle to be? Do you want it in the sweet, sweet spot in a node or anti-node? Where do you want it? And then from there, you design backwards. If it's joining on the 14th and a half, that's cool. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just wherever,
Right.
the formula doesn't change. The fret positions will be the same. You'll get the same notes, but then it's a matter of fooling around. And to me, I envision myself 40 years ago. Now, if I could go to the archives and come in and see, wow, this is the Yasui, or this is Tom's collection from such and such builder, from a Nunez or from whoever, and this is what he did, or I can play it. It's like, whew, there's years and hours
How
off your
amazing
life.
is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how about you, Dr. Yasui? What is your thoughts on participating in this project?
I'm just so very, very, very thankful that John King did that book on the history of the
Yes.
ukulele with Jim Tranquil,
Yeah.
because now future historians,
Yes.
scholars who want to do more research on the ukulele have someplace to go to that's really reliable, presents reliable information that can serve as a springboard for further research and study into the history of the
Absolutely.
ukulele.
And how appropriate is it that they would be here
Yeah,
Yes.
in
its birth,
Hawaii, the
yeah.
it's
home
published by UH
birthplace of the
Press,
ukulele?
you know.
It has
So-
been such a pleasure to have you here today, to be able to share the History of Ukulele Hall of Fame, the journey that you've taken to get to this place, but also the exciting things to come. We're so blessed to be a part of your journey as well. And from on behalf of the Hawaiʻi State Archives and the people of Hawaii as well, and ukulele fans around the world, we thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all your mana'o. Much mahalo.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, mahalo.